What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Trick 10s. Today we're going to be working on a 1997 low roughneck. This boat is old, but it's welded. The cool thing about all the roughnecks is they are welded hulls. This one's in pretty good shape. It's got an incredible motor on the back of it. We're going to be doing some upgrades on this rig. I'm going to turn this camera around. I'm going to show you exactly what we got, what we're working with. You guys know how this works. Let's get right into it. All right, so check this thing out, guys. This boat is in immaculate shape, considering that this thing was built in 1997. It is really nice. I mean, it doesn't have a dent or scratch in it. One of the main issues that the customer just recently did is this right here. Why he did that, I don't know. I mean, come on, man. You came to me to do some upgrades. Why couldn't I just do this for you? I'm going to reach out to him because he just went to town with a rib nut gun and he just sunk these things through here. It is terribly ugly. I mean, I literally looked at this as soon as he brought it here and he was like, "What's wrong with that? You don't like it?" And I just held my tongue because I didn't want to embarrass him. But dude, like, what in the F were you thinking? Like, I could have just made you a little bracket that would have been out of something a little bit thicker than this. It's only like 1/16 of an inch thick. And I could have made it just like this. I would have welded it down here and then welded it up here. And then you could still reach inside of here to bolt this on. I'm going to reach out to him because we need to fix this. If I got to do this out of pocket, I might just do it because this is terrible. It just ruins the whole boat for me. Enough about that, though. Let's get into the build. This is a 1752 low roughneck. This thing is old, man. 1997. In excellent shape. This thing had to be garage kept. Look at this 50 horsepower Johnson outboard on here. As far as I know, this is original. Insane. This thing had to be garage kept. There's no way that it made it through the elements to be outside and looks like this. It doesn't even have a scratch on it. I'm pumped about this motor, man. My mechanic, John Tiger, stopped by, and he literally is all about these motors. He buys them and builds them and sells them, repaints them, decals them. He makes them look like brand new. And when I first got this boat, I was like, man, that's a John Tiger motor. It's got to be, because this thing's the motor is actually a 1998. I was like, there's no way that that's an original paint job and decal on there. But from what I know, it is. John Tiger came over and saw it. He looked at it and he was like, wow, that is the cleanest 50 horsepower Johnson I've ever seen in my entire life. And coming from him, the guy that builds hundreds of these every year, he's probably built 1,000, if not more, in his lifetime. It's pretty big. So this thing is probably original, probably been garage kept, and it is super clean. I'll pull the cowling off in a second and show you, but this motor is extremely strong. Lots of torque, lots of power, and in the shape that it's in, I mean, it's immaculate. This thing will probably push this boat 40 miles an hour. I don't know. I mean, it's got to be quick. It's lightweight. It's on a jack plate. Honestly, I think it needs to come up just a little bit. It could probably come up at least an inch and a half, but he's got the ability to play around with it. Now, the customer that brought me this boat, he bought this boat from an older gentleman who obviously took good care of it. I don't know how long he had the boat before he purchased it, but he took good care of this rig. This thing is in really good shape as far as the hull and the motor goes, but he told me he paid like $6,500 for boat, trailer, and motor, which at first seemed like a lot of money to me, but in the reality of it, with a 50 horsepower Johnson outboard in that condition, that motor is probably worth $3,500 by itself. And then that leaves you, what, $2,000 for the boat, and then maybe $1,000 for the trailer. You're in the ballpark, so I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, it's a sweet little rig. I don't like the floor that's in here. I mean, I don't know. They put wood in here and they've got lots of PVC pipes ran in here. Whoever had this boat probably was an electrician based off of the way all this stuff is ran. This is like exterior electrical boxes, and it's not the end of the world, but I mean, they did caulk the crap out of this. Look at this. Everything is caulked, super caulked. Everything's nice and sealed up, even the floor. I mean, it's caught all the way around the floor on all sides, but they used a wood floor. I mean, it is what it is. I have a feeling that this guy's gonna be back and we're going to end up tearing this floor out of here and replacing it with aluminum and probably bringing this front deck back. Now, this guy's local to me. He does pretty much all of his fishing out of the Elizabeth River. That's where I fish. He's out there trying to catch a trout, striper, and drum. For the most part, that's where he uses this rig. It's a perfect boat for that. I mean, you could take this thing up around all the pylons, bridges, and the tunnel, and anywhere around here. You can catch a lot of fish, and this is the perfect size boat. And it's fast enough that you can get from point A to point B. You could fish a lot of space in a short amount of time. It's not a bass fishing boat, but we got to put some stuff in here to make his life a little bit easier. Now, he wants to put a trolling motor up here, and the way this boat is set up, the deck obviously drops down about 6 inches from this top rail on the gunnel, and he doesn't know how to install it. So we're going to build a trolling motor bracket up here. We're going to weld it onto this front bow, and we're going to rivet it to the deck. We're going to remove this, throw this somewhere else. Now, this guy does have a lot of PVC fittings and stuff in here. He's got a ton of caulking in here everywhere. I'm hoping that I can fish some wire through here for his trolling motor, because that would be ideal if I could pull some wires back through here. And I mean, he needs nav lights. I don't know if we're going to end up doing all that, but the main thing we're going to do is install a trolling motor on here. We're going to put some batteries into the back bench. We're going to put some hatches in there for storage. I've got all this stuff over here. Now, this is the stuff that he brought me. This is like his nav light stuff, and he's got this Minn Kota power drive trolling motor. This is brand new. He's got two 100 amp hour 12 volt lifetime batteries. We're going to be installing both of these into the existing back bench. Now, I did build these two hatches right here. These are basically 16 by 24 inch hatches, and they are going to fit perfectly up in the back of this boat. Now, I actually had these already made. The lids were built originally for a different boat, and the sizes were not exactly what we needed for that boat, but they work perfectly for this rig, and they're set up exactly what we need. So these will drop right into this back bench. Look at this. We got some water coming out of them. They've been sitting outside, but it fits perfectly. It'll wrap right from either side of the front and the back of this bench, and that will give him a lot of storage in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a seat pedestal base in the center, and then I'm going to mount his batteries right there in a row inside of the bench. And then he'll have storage on port and starboard side, and that will give him lots of storage in there. Plus the batteries will be in there, and we'll run a cable for that up into the front where the trolling motor is going to mount. And that's going to be the bulk of what we're going to do right now. But I'm also going to hook up some electrical for him. He wants some LED lights in here, so I'm going to run some of the LED lights from Custom LED Inc. I'm going to run them up underneath the interior on both sides. I'm probably going to use either the white and blue or white and green. And I'm going to hook it up into a switch panel I'm going to put up here on the dash. Now, he's got lots of wires in here. Whoever set up all these wires originally, I mean, they got excess wire everywhere, just bird's nest stuff. But end of the day, it's going to be harder for me to figure out how to use this than if I just use new stuff. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to get a new switch panel. I'm going to get a new fuse block. I'm going to install the fuse block up on the side of, I think, this console right here. Might even install it underneath. I don't know, but we're going to put a new fuse block in here and a new switch panel. I'm probably just going to take these crappy little switches out of here. I mean, this is old school, and these need to be upgraded. So we're going to put a new switch panel right here and put a new fuse block in there, and that's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to hook up just the interior LED lights in here and then his bilge pump, and then at a later date, I guarantee you, this guy's going to come back, because what we need to do is tear this floor out of here, put an aluminum floor in here, extend this deck back about 2 or 3 ribs, and give him some more storage up here. And this will be a really sick rig. He could paint it himself. I mean, if he doesn't want to turf it, it is what it is. I'd put a recessed foot pedal tray in here and make this thing really sick. But I'm going to go ahead and put you guys on the hyperlapse. I'm going to go ahead and get started cutting out the holes for these hatches. I'm going to drop into this existing bench right here, and then we'll circle back. Let's get right into it. guys, so last night I cut both the holes out in this back bench, and you can see how these hatches fit in here. I mean, they are perfect for this rig. He's gonna have a lot of storage space inside of there. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install a floor in here. I'm gonna rivet it into this little lip. It comes back about an inch on either side. And this is about 19 3/8 across here. I'm gonna cut two pieces that are 19 3/8 by about 30 inches because the floor inside of there is about 52, 54 inches. And I'm going to overlap them in the center. And then we're going to build a battery tray that's going to go in the center to house his lithium batteries. Now, I did talk to the customer a little bit earlier, and I told him that I really wanted to remake this piece, and he was cool with it. So I am going to get some measurements on this. I'm going to try to remake this tomorrow, and I'm going to make this out of like 1/8 inch smooth aluminum, and I'll just weld it to the side of the boat and weld up all these holes where he went a little crazy with those rib nuts. I do need to build this piece up on the front of the bow for his trolling motor. And I'm going to have it where it welds up here and kicks back. I'm going to have his trolling motor where it deploys on this side right here. So I'm thinking about just trying to reuse this piece right here because this piece that I cut out of the deck, it's pretty thick. Surprisingly, it's not like the newer boats. It's older. And this is about 0.90. It's almost an 1/8 inch. It might even be 0.10, but it's at least 0.90. And it's enough if I can make this thing work to fit up on the front bow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some measurements for that and set the trolling motor up there and kind of figure out how I want to stage it up and try to lay this thing out. If I can go ahead and bend this and cut it and make this tonight at my house with my little handbrake, I will, and I'll get it welded and installed tonight. If not, I'll at least get it figured out to where I can take this piece with me tomorrow and make this piece for the trolling motor to mount on. I hate wasting material, and this is actually some good drops right here. If I can recycle these and use them back into the boat, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll put you guys back in the hyperlapse. Let's get back to work. Alright guys, so we did get a lot of progress done on this boat. Now we got this shifter piece installed up here. This is the way it should have been made originally. Welded up here. It could have avoided all these holes out here. Now it's such a shame. This is such a beautiful boat. I mean, it's old, but it was in immaculate shape. He had tons of holes in here. We filled all these holes in. Now he has to come back and he's have to touch these up or paint the entire rig. But this is the way this thing should have been, man. I wish I could have done it originally for him, but it is what it is, and now it's done. It's sturdy. It looks good. Now that that's finished up, I'm going to install the floor inside of this back bench. I got the pieces cut over here. I'm going to put them up inside of here, get them riveted in. Then I'm going to make some battery tray that's going to go in the center and it's going to hold his new lithium batteries. I'm also going to mount his battery tender up inside of this bench right here. And he sent me a Noco Genius plug that's going to go somewhere up in the back here, maybe up in this corner panel right here. And then I'm going to get up here in the front where the trolling motor's at because I made the bracket for this. I did not install it yet because I was waiting on the wire to get here. The wire is here. I have a socket for his nav light. It's going to go in here. So I got to figure out how I'm going to set all this up. And I'm going to get this thing installed. I'm going to weld it up here permanently and route it to the deck. Once I get the wires ran, I can get this thing done. But we have everything we need now. So it's time to get back to work. All right, guys, so everything's coming together. It looks really nice. This was probably the easy part of it, to be real with you, but everything looks real good. And the only issue now that I'm running into is I got another socket for his nav light. I want to put it in this back panel back here. And well, this pot on the side is full of foam and there's no holes in there. So you can see how I did this one. I ran my wire through here and then up to the back. This plug's right here. Well, normally I would run that, through that pod and then have it come out in the back up here, but there's no way to do that. Now, I really don't want to cut a hole in here and dig all that foam out and put an access plate on it. Might be my easier bet, but I got to do both sides if I do that, and I'm really kind of at the end of my budget on extra stuff I'm doing in this boat, so that's just going to be extra stuff for nothing. I have to run my strip rail lights in here, and I like to start them back in the corner also, so that when my wires are underneath that corner panel, and then I can run the strip all the way up on both sides. Now, the other option I have is I can run it up here. I might do this. It's got a hole here. I could fish a wire up, and I could start my strip here and run it back, and then just have a wire that goes down here on both sides of this front deck. A little 4-inch piece of wire exposed. I don't think that's going to be too big of a deal. It's probably what I'm going to have to do. I don't know. I'm going to figure that out. But I just realized a minute ago when I started looking at some of this electrical, what we got here, and I thought this was just a tackle box in the boat. Well, if you look closer, this thing has wires going in both ends of it. And inside of here, this was basically used to hold his fuse block. So this thing's old school. It's got the glass fuses in here. Obviously, we don't want to use those. We got a new fuse block we're going to put in here, but I couldn't believe it when I opened this thing up and saw that sitting inside there. I was like, wow, pretty crazy. I do have this 6-gang nightlight switch panel. I'm going to install this in here. I'm going to put this right over here on this side. Now, I was originally going to put it where those switches are at, but it's not going to fit there. It's too tall, and it's just not going to work. It's going to have to mount this way, and there's not enough room to do that over there. So I told him what I could do is just remove these since they're old and they're ugly and they're not going to be used. And I'll just make them a little strip panel that goes over here. It's a flat piece. Put a couple rivets in it, and it'll cover this up. Now, this bilge pump that's in here, it's on a float, also automatic. So this is a 3-way switch. Now, I don't want to use this because it's old and, well, it's just pretty ugly. So we're going to hook up 2 of the switches in here. One for the bilge always on, and one's going to be for the automatic bilge. That way, if the float trips, it will come on. So that's going to be 2 of our switches for that. Then we're going to have a 3rd switch that's going to run for our sockets, for the nav lights, front and back. And then the strip lights I'm putting in, these are from my buddy over at Custom LED Ink and Fiber Optics. Man, these are the ticket right here. I love these things. So I'm going to hook these up. And they're 3-way switches because you got 2 different colorways. You can flip-flop between white and blue. And these switches that are in here are not 3-way switches. So they're not going to work. These are just 2-way switches. I'm going to have another switch up in here. I'm going to put up on the side. And that's basically just going to be for the interior strip rail lights. That way you can flip-flop between the 2 colors. A lot of stuff to do, and it's kind of boring. So I'm going to put you guys back on the hyperlapse. I'm going to wrap up the rest of this build, and then I'll give you guys a full walkthrough. Let's get back to work. All right, guys, so we got all the electrical ran in here, and this wire coming up here is for both of my LED lights. Now, I want to show you how I did this because it's pretty simple. Now, obviously I pulled this one switch out of here, and I was going to use this switch right here, which is a double pole, double throw switch is what we need. But look, when you push this down, it's a momentary switch. I ordered the wrong one. I was just going to pop that in there and hook it up. But with this will work as long as you hold it down. But as soon as you take your finger off, it turns off. I needed this in a non-momentary switch, and I ordered another one, but it's like 14 days out. So what I did was I just went up to Norfolk Marine and I picked up this switch right here. And it's pretty cool. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good quality brand switch. It's actually a C-Choice switch. So I'm going to put this in here, but I'm not going to put it into here because it's not going to fit right. So what I'm going to do with it is actually probably mount it either underneath of it right here, or I might actually mount it into our panel we're going to have over here. We're going to put up there. That way it looks like there's a point in it. But look, I just wanted to show you how these wires hook up. Now, I'll put a diagram in the corner of the screen so you can see it. But this is a 6-pin connector. So basically, the outside ones, you can see how this is just a jumper. It makes an X across the two. Then in the center is where your power is going to come in, your negative and your positive on the opposite side. And once you make that X, then on this side where these are exposed, when you flick this on, it's got a light inside of it. So it will turn a light on inside of the switch. And then you're just going to come off of here on these two with, you got your negative on this side. Well, I just add them up like that, negative, positive. So you're gonna have two wires jumping into this top spade connector, and that will make the lights come on. So look, we can hook these up like this, and that gives us blue. And then if we switch the switch the opposite direction, it will reverse the polarity and make them white. Or we can show you, just for purposes of viewing, I switch the wires around. We have white. It's pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys back on hyperlapse. I'm going to install this permanently and get this project wrapped up. Then I got to put the hatches in here permanently, install them, and I'll show you guys exactly what we got. Let's get back to work. All right, she's done. We gave this old boat a new life. This thing turned out sick, man. We got the new shifter bracket up here. This thing looks like it should be installed this way originally. We got more storage up in this back bench. And look at this. These hatches have the compression locks in them, and they do have keys in them. And we got a floor inside of here. Lots of storage. I mean, look at all this room inside of here. 2 Li-Ti lithium batteries up in the center there, hooked up on the battery tender with the port plug in the back here on the splash well. Same thing on the opposite side, another hatch. I did throw some silicone around these hatches because he's not going to be putting any type of turf in here, and that will help keep these things dry inside of here, but lots of room. There's the trolling motor fuse block right there. Little breaker in the corner. I mean, this thing looks sick. He's got lots of room up inside here now. Turned out really good. I'm pumped this thing is done. It's kind of a little quick hit, but it's a sweet little build, man. And this is the stage of a full build. I guarantee you this boat will be back eventually, because most people don't realize the possibilities of what I can do with a boat like this. But I mean, this thing could be really sick. We brought that deck back and rod locker, live well, but what we did in this first stage of the build is elite. I mean, check this out. We got all these switches hooked up in here, and these things are dope. These 3 are open. They're fair game. Anything he wants to put in here, you can put into these 3 switches. And then we've got these 3 right here hooked up. Nav lights, bilge on, and then this one is for the bilge automatic pump. And these 3 are just wide open, fair game. On the side over here, I did install this switch on this custom switch panel I made, which is dope. And this is the 3-way switch. So check this out. Up, it's white. Middle is off. Down is blue. Now, these are the only LED strip lights that I've ever seen that had the capability to go 2-color swap between, and that's why I use them. I mean, Custom LED Inc., that is the company of the lights that I think are the best of the market. The white lights are sick too. I mean, that's what he originally wanted, was just white, and they're super bright. And he has the capability to switch them into blue, which is like a low light. It's going to look really dope out on the water though. But I mean, the whole build turned out sick. I'm pumped. I'm going to hop up in there and show y'all how I did the wiring inside of there. Trolling motor is hooked up. All his wires are nice and clean. I put his tie down right here on the side. That way he's got an ability to hook up a rope to it and, you know, pull it from the front of the boat. And he's still got 2 on each back corner panel of the boat. And let's hop up inside of here and I'm gonna show y'all how neat and nice and tidy this wire looks. All right, so this is the back side of his side console. And up inside of here, we've got his fuse panel. Now, all of these fuses have LED lights in them, so they'll light up if any of these fuses blow, but all the wiring inside of here, nice and neat. And then over here, we have his switch panel. Everything is pulled up inside of here. He's got a little bit of slack wire in here. That way he can remove the screws in the switch panel and pull it out if he has an issue. But everything looks really good, man. I mean, if anything, he's gonna have to come in here and change a fuse out. But I guarantee you that the wiring job I did in here, unless he runs into an issue where he actually cuts a wire or breaks something, he's not gonna have to mess with this for years to come. I mean, this stuff is nice and neat and tidy. It's up out of the way. Everything looks really good. I mean, he's going to be super happy about this. I know he is. This whole console looks 1,000 times better than it did when he brought it to me. I did run the wires for this little cigarette charger he's got in here, and it was working, so I figured I might as well hook it up. That's on a separate fuse too, but the boat turned out dope. I mean, the only thing that I would do in this back bench area is I would probably come back and drop a hatch in here. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. It's already like kind of framed out, and these quarter panels in the back, they're brought up to the same height as the bench. So if you wanted to just throw a hatch in there, it would just finish this whole thing off. And back deck would be really dope if it had a hatch over that, because it would make an area for somebody in the back of the boat to stand up here. And especially once he starts using that spot lock trolling motor and he realizes that when you spot lock, that majority of your fishing is going to be off the back of the boat, I think he's going to want to come back and throw a big hatch in here so he can stand up here, because this is where you're going to be fishing. That spot lock trolling motor is going to hold you in the front, and basically whichever way the current's going, that's where the back of the boat's going to be. And I use my spot lock all the time, and majority of my fishing is off the back of the boat when I'm spot locking. But turned out sick, man. This is a big build, welded hull, 1997. I mean, kudos to whoever welded this thing in 1997, because you did a killer job. All the welds in here look stellar. I've got a good feeling we're going to see this boat back. We're going to end up putting a floor, maybe some more hatches, maybe even extending this deck back, because, I mean, he's got a lot of potential with this rig. But everything I did, I'm happy with, and I hope he's going to be happy with too. All right, guys, so 28-year-old boat. Thing's pretty crazy, and it's a welded hull. I mean, the hull itself has been garage kept. It's in immaculate shape, and this thing literally looks like it came out of a time capsule. Without the holes that he put in the side when he mounted his shifter in it, it's basically a brand new hull. Now, I would love to have a boat like this. I mean, this thing is sweet. I mean, I could turn this into something really crazy and really cool, and considering as old as it is, like, I mean, this is a gem. The welds that are in here, the aluminum that's in here, this stuff is made from a time that people actually gave a damn about what they were doing. It's not this new crap where it's just rushed and put together with somebody who's making minimum wage. This boat was put together with love, and all the welds and literally every piece of it show that. Now, he did have some issues with a lot of caulking and silicone and stuff that somebody filled this thing up with. The wiring that was in here was kind of crazy, but we redid all the wiring. All the wiring is basically brand new, and he's got the big storage hatches in the back. I think he's going to have a good time out of this boat this upcoming season, and I'm really hoping that I see him out on the water and I can see him using this thing firsthand. Now, I do have a lot of other projects coming up, guys. Look, I got a 1648 tracker over there. That thing is only like a couple years old, but I tell you what, if I had a choice between that boat and this boat, I'd actually pick this boat. Not just because it is a foot longer and 6 inches wider, but because this thing has a lot better fabrication in it than this tracker does. It's just older, and people actually cared about what they were doing back then. Anyways, guys, I do appreciate y'all watching. I'm glad y'all were hanging out with me today, and I got a lot of other stuff coming down the pipeline, so make sure y'all stay tuned. If you're interested in any metalwork, you got a boat like this that you guys are using or are thinking about buying, then leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the project here and what you're doing. And I do respond to every comment on the channel, so that's something I pride myself in. And if you got a question or something, go ahead and ask away, guys. If you want any merchandise, you can check that out on tricktens.net. Got some new stuff coming. It's been a while, but it's in the works, I promise you guys. And if you're looking for any metalwork, you can find that on tricktensjohnboats.com. If you want to reach out to me and inquire about a build or getting any hatches done, send me an email through professionalwelding@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next time. Let's get back to work.